You are playing a game. Right now. You've been playing it since the day you were born. And the reason you're not winning, the reason your life feels like it's running on a loop, the reason the same patterns keep repeating, the reason you work so hard but the results never seem to match the effort, is not because the game is rigged against you. It's because nobody ever told you the rules. Think about it. You were given instructions for everything else. How to tie your shoes, how to do math, how to write an essay, how to get a job, how to file your taxes. You were handed a manual for every mundane detail of existence. But the actual game, the one that determines whether you experience wealth or poverty, love or loneliness, freedom or frustration, expansion or stagnation, the game that underlies all of those outcomes, nobody taught you how to play it. Nobody even told you it existed. And so you've been playing by default, running on inherited strategies, unconscious patterns, and rules you absorbed from people who didn't know the game existed either. You've been playing checkers in a chess universe. And the reason everything feels so hard is not because life is hard. It's because you're using the wrong strategy for the game you're actually in. In this video, I'm going to lay out the 5 hidden rules of the game of reality. These are not metaphors. These are not motivational ideas. These are the operating principles that govern how reality responds to consciousness. And once you see them, you will understand why some people seem to move through life effortlessly while others grind endlessly and get nowhere. But I need to warn you about rule number 3. It's the one that explains why the game appears rigged. And once you understand it, you'll see that the very thing you thought was working against you has actually been working for you the entire time. Most people never recover from that realization, not because it hurts, but because it changes how you see everything that's ever happened to you. Let's start with the one that changes the game the moment you see it. The first rule of the game is the one that separates the players from the played. Rule number 1, reality is not something that happens to you. It is something that responds to you. Most people operate under a fundamental misunderstanding. They believe they are passengers in a reality that was built before they arrived, a fixed environment where external events happen randomly and their job is to react, survive, adapt, hope for the best. That is not how the game works, and believing it is the single biggest reason people feel powerless. Modern physics has been pointing at this for a century. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect demonstrates that subatomic particles exist in a state of probability until they are observed, at which point they collapse into a specific reality. The act of observation itself determines the outcome. The measurement shapes what is measured. Scale that up. You are an observer, not a passive one, an active one. Every belief you hold, every emotion you broadcast, every assumption you carry about what is and isn't possible, all of it is observation. And reality is collapsing around those observations constantly, not metaphorically, structurally. You are not navigating a fixed world. You are generating a responsive one, and it is responding to your inputs with terrifying precision. Consider how this plays out practically. 2 people walk into the same networking event. One believes, nobody here wants to talk to me, these people are out of my league. The other believes, everyone I meet is a potential ally. I belong in every room I enter. Same room, same people, completely different realities by the end of the evening. The first person's belief generated avoidance signals, closed body language, hesitant eye contact, muted energy, and reality responded accordingly. People ignored them. The second person's belief generated invitation signals, open posture, direct engagement, confident energy, and reality responded accordingly. Doors opened. This isn't positive thinking. This is game mechanics. The game responds to the player's inputs. Change the inputs, change the outputs. It has never worked any other way. So the first move in outsmarting the game is this. Stop treating reality like weather. something you can only react to, and start treating it like a mirror, something that reflects what you bring to it. Every morning, ask yourself, what inputs am I feeding the game today? What am I expecting? What am I assuming? What reality am I generating with my beliefs before a single thing happens? The game doesn't care what you want. It cares what you expect, and it delivers accordingly every single time. That's rule number 1. Reality responds. The question is, what are you telling it to respond with? Rule number 2 is the one that's going to save you years of wasted energy. The game does not reward effort. The game rewards coherence. This is the rule that the entire self-improvement industry gets backwards. They tell you, work harder, wake up earlier, grind more, hustle, optimize your time, double your output. And the implicit promise is, the more effort you pour in, the more results you get out. But look around. That equation doesn't hold up. There are people working 80-hour weeks who are barely surviving. And there are people working a fraction of those hours who are thriving beyond what seems rational. The difference is not effort. The difference is coherence. Coherence means alignment between what you believe, what you feel, and what you do. It means your conscious desires and your unconscious programming are pointing in the same direction. It means there is no internal contradiction between the life you say you want and the signals your nervous system is actually broadcasting. Most people are profoundly incoherent, and they don't know it. Their mouth says, "I want to be wealthy," while their body broadcasts fear of money. Their goals say, "I want deep love," while their nervous system is wired to push intimacy away. Their vision board says success, while their childhood programming says, "People like us don't get that." That incoherence is like typing a command into a computer while simultaneously holding down the cancel key. The effort is real, the inputs contradict, and the output is nothing. Or worse, a garbled version of what you asked for. The game reads your total signal, not your words, not your intentions, not your affirmations, your total signal. And when that signal is coherent, when every layer of your being is broadcasting the same message, the game responds with an efficiency that looks like magic from the outside. This is why someone can change their life in 6 months after struggling for 6 years. They didn't suddenly discover a better strategy. They resolved an internal contradiction. The conscious and the subconscious finally aligned. And the game, which had been receiving a scrambled signal for years, suddenly received a clean one, and delivered the matching reality almost instantly. The practical application of this rule is uncomfortable but simple. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" start asking, "Where am I incoherent? Where is there a gap between what you say you want and what you actually believe is possible? Between how you present yourself and how you actually feel? Between your goals and your deepest fears?" Find the contradiction, resolve the contradiction, and watch the game's response change, not because you worked harder, but because you finally stopped canceling your own commands. Coherence is the cheat code hiding in plain sight. The game was never about how hard you push. It was always about how aligned you are when you push. Here's the rule most people never discover, and it's the one that will permanently change your relationship with difficulty, obstacles, and the feeling that life is stacked against you. Rule number 3. The game uses your resistance as a compass. Whatever you resist most is the direction your growth lives. Let me explain what this means in the context of game mechanics, because it changes everything. In game design, there's a principle called progressive difficulty. The game gets harder as you level up, not to punish you, but because harder challenges are the only mechanism through which you develop the skills needed for the next level. A game that stays easy is a game you stop playing. A game that scales its challenges to your current edge? That's a game designed for growth. Reality works on the same principle. The obstacles in your life are not random misfortunes. They are calibrated challenges, tuned to your specific edge, targeting the exact area where growth is available. And the proof of this is in the precision. The thing you struggle with most is never arbitrary. It's always connected to the skill, the belief, or the capacity that your next level requires. Look at your life and tell me this isn't true. If your growth edge is self-worth, the game will present you with situations that test your self-worth, relationships that undervalue you, opportunities that underpay you, circumstances that ask you to settle for less than you deserve, not to break you, to train you to claim your value. If your growth edge is trust, the game will present you with situations that require trust, uncertainty, ambiguity, periods where you can't see the path forward, not to torture you, to develop your capacity to navigate without guarantees. If your growth edge is boundaries, the game will flood you with people and situations that violate your boundaries, not to drain you, to force you to build the skill of protecting your energy, because wherever you're going next, you'll need that skill. The game is not rigged against you. The game is rigged for you. It's just that the game's definition of for you includes challenge, friction, and resistance, because those are the only mechanisms through which a player levels up. And here's the realization that changes everything I warned you about at the beginning. If resistance is a compass, if the game is using your obstacles to point you toward growth, then everything you've been running from is actually everything you need to run toward. The conversation you've been avoiding? That's the game saying your next level is on the other side of that conversation. The risk you won't take? That's the game saying the skill you need is developed by taking that risk. The emotion you've been suppressing? That's the game saying the breakthrough is buried underneath that emotion. The game hides the reward behind the thing you least want to do, always, without exception. And the players who figure this out gain an advantage so profound it looks like a completely different game. Instead of avoiding resistance, they orient toward it. Instead of asking, "How do I make this easier?" they ask, "Why is the game presenting this specific challenge right now? What skill is being trained? What capacity is being developed?" And the moment you start playing this way, the moment you treat every obstacle as a compass rather than a wall, the game stops feeling adversarial. It starts feeling collaborative, because you finally understand the game was never trying to stop you. It was trying to prepare you. Here's how to use this immediately. Take the thing in your life that feels most stuck, most frustrating, most resistant to change. Now ask 2 questions. First, what skill or capacity would I have to develop to move through this? Second, is that the exact skill or capacity I'll need at the next level? The answer to the second question is always yes, always. And once you see that, the frustration transforms into purpose. The obstacle becomes a curriculum, and the game becomes something you're working with instead of fighting against. 2 rules left, and now we enter the territory most people never reach, because rule number 4 requires you to do something deeply counterintuitive. Rule number 4 is where most players get permanently stuck, not because they lack intelligence or courage, but because this rule violates everything they've been taught about how to win. Rule number 4: the game advances to the next level only when you fully surrender the current one, not when you conquer it, when you release it. In conventional thinking, you advance by accumulating. More skills, more resources, more achievements, more control. You pile up enough wins at the current level, and eventually you break through to the next one, climb the ladder, stack the victories, force the upgrade. But that's not how the game actually works. The game advances through release, not accumulation. Through letting go of the identity, the strategies, and the attachments that belong to the current level. Because those very things, the things that got you here, are the things that prevent you from getting there. Think about it in terms of game levels. At level 1, you develop certain skills, strategies, and tools. They work. They get you through level 1. But level 2 requires different skills, different strategies, different tools, and you can't pick up the new ones because your hands are full of the old ones. This plays out in life with painful clarity. The survival skills that got you through a difficult childhood, hypervigilance, people-pleasing, emotional suppression, those were brilliant level 1 strategies. But they're crippling at level 5. The hustle mentality that built your first business? It's destroying your health and relationships at the next level. The independence that protected you from being hurt? It's now blocking you from experiencing deep intimacy. The strategies that saved you at one level will suffocate you at the next, and the game will not advance until you put them down. This is why success so often feels like grief, because leveling up requires mourning the version of you that got you this far, thanking it, honoring what it did, and then setting it down, not because it was wrong, because it's complete. Most people refuse to do this. They keep optimizing level 3 strategies in a level 5 game. They hold on to the identity that brought them success because the identity feels like them, and releasing it feels like death. They confuse the vehicle with the driver, the strategy with the self. And so the game does something fascinating. It creates stagnation, not as a punishment, as a signal. Stagnation in the game of reality is the system telling you you've extracted everything this level has to offer. The challenges here can no longer grow you. The rewards here can no longer fulfill you. You're not stuck because you're failing. You're stuck because you're complete. And completion requires release. The practice is deceptively simple. Ask, what identity, strategy, or attachment was essential for my past, but is now holding me back? And then begin the process of loosening your grip, not abandoning everything overnight, but acknowledging that the thing you're clinging to most tightly might be the very weight preventing your ascension. Some of the most powerful questions in the game are, who would I be without this belief? What would I do if this identity no longer defined me? What becomes possible when I stop carrying what I no longer need? The game doesn't advance when you acquire more. It advances when you become light enough to rise. And becoming light means setting down what's heavy, even when it's heavy because you love it, even when it's heavy because it once saved your life. One rule left, the final rule, the exploit built into the fabric of the game itself. The final rule is the one that sounds the simplest and operates at the deepest level. And before you hear it, I need you to set aside everything you think you know about this concept, because the way most people understand it is the reason it doesn't work for them. Rule number 5, the game has a backdoor, and it's gratitude. Not gratitude as a feeling, gratitude as a frequency, not gratitude as politeness. Gratitude as a hack that bypasses the normal rules of the game entirely. Let me explain why this is an exploit and not just a nice emotion. Remember Rule 1, the game responds to your inputs. Your beliefs, your emotions, your expectations, those are the signals the game reads. Now consider what happens when you broadcast genuine gratitude, not forced positivity. Not, I'm grateful, written on a sticky note you don't believe. Genuine, felt in the body gratitude for what is already present in your life. When you broadcast gratitude, you are sending the game a very specific signal. I have enough. What I have is good. I am receiving. And here's where the exploit kicks in. The The game's response mechanism doesn't evaluate whether you objectively have a lot or a little. It reads the signal, and if the signal says, "I am receiving," the game's response is, "Give this player more to receive." Gratitude tells the game you're winning, and the game gives winning players more resources. That's not philosophy, that's game mechanics. Now, contrast this with what most people broadcast by default. The default signal is complaint, lack, and dissatisfaction. I don't have enough. This isn't good enough. When will things get better? And the game reads that signal as, this player is losing. And what does every game system do with a losing signal? It delivers more of the conditions that match losing, not out of malice, out of mechanics. This is why people who complain attract more to complain about. Why people in a scarcity mindset encounter more scarcity. Why people who fixate on problems find an endless supply. The game is responding precisely to their broadcast. And their broadcast is, I don't have enough. So the game delivers more not having enough. Gratitude reverses the signal entirely. It tells the game, I have, I receive, I am abundant. And the game has no choice but to match that broadcast with a reality that confirms it. More things to be grateful for, more receiving, more abundance. Not because you earned it with positive thinking, because you hacked the input system. Here's why gratitude doesn't work for most people, and why they dismiss it as empty advice. They're performing gratitude at the thought level while their body is broadcasting scarcity at the frequency level. They write in a gratitude journal while their nervous system is clenched with fear. They say, I'm grateful, while their chest is tight with anxiety. The game doesn't read your journal. It reads your frequency. And if your body is screaming lack while your mouth whispers thanks, the game responds to the louder signal. Every time. So the exploit only activates when gratitude becomes somatic, felt in the body, not just thought in the mind. When your hands soften, when your chest opens, when your breathing deepens, when you feel genuine warmth spreading through your torso as you recognize what is genuinely good in your life right now, no matter how small. That physical shift, that specific somatic state, is the backdoor input. It tells the game at the deepest level, this player is winning. This player receives. Send more. Here's the daily protocol. Once a day, morning is ideal before any external input. Sit for 2 minutes. Don't list things you're grateful for. That's cognitive. Instead, feel what you already have. Feel the bed beneath you. Feel the breath in your lungs. Feel the fact that you woke up. Let the feeling expand until it fills your chest, until your hands tingle with it, until your face softens involuntarily. That state, that 2-minute somatic state of genuine receiving, sends a signal so clean, so powerful, that the game begins reorganizing your day before you've left your bedroom. Synchronicities appear, opportunities surface, people respond to you differently. Not because you manifested specific outcomes, because you changed the input frequency at the source. Every other player in the game is trying to change their circumstances to feel better. The exploit is feeling better to change your circumstances. That inversion is the backdoor, and once you walk through it, the game becomes something entirely different. Let me give you the complete game manual. Rule 1. Reality is not happening to you. It is responding to you. Change your inputs, change your outputs. Rule 2. The game rewards coherence, not effort. Align your beliefs, your feelings, and your actions. Stop canceling your own commands. Rule 3. The game uses your resistance as a compass. Whatever you're avoiding is pointing you toward your next level. Rule 4. The game advances when you surrender the current level, release the strategies, identities, and attachments that have served their purpose. Rule 5. The game has a backdoor. Somatic gratitude, felt in the body, not performed in the mind, hacks the input system and tells the game you're winning. Here's how these rules work together as a single strategy. You start each day by setting your inputs intentionally, deciding what you expect, what you believe, what you broadcast. You check for coherence, finding where your conscious desires contradict your unconscious signals, and you resolve the conflict. When you encounter obstacles, you don't fight them. You read them as a compass, asking what skill the game is developing in you. When you feel stuck, you don't push harder. You look for what you're holding on to that belongs to the last level, and you begin to release it. And underneath it all, you run the exploit. You generate somatic gratitude, telling the game at the deepest level that you are a player who receives. That's the complete strategy. That's how you outsmart the game of reality. Not by fighting harder, not by wanting more, by understanding the rules that nobody taught you and playing accordingly. Most people will watch this video and think it's interesting. They'll nod. They'll agree. And then they'll close the tab and go back to playing by the old rules. That's fine. The game is patient. It will wait. But some of you, a small percentage, will actually start playing differently tomorrow morning. You'll check your inputs. You'll scan for incoherence. You'll orient toward resistance instead of away from it. You'll release one thing that no longer serves you, and you'll sit for 2 minutes in genuine gratitude before the world touches you. And your reality will begin to respond, not in weeks, not in months. The game responds the moment the signal changes. It always has. You just didn't know you were the one sending the signal. In the comments, tell me which rule hit you the hardest. Which one made the game suddenly make sense? Subscribe if you want to keep getting the rules, and share this with someone who's been playing the game blind. They deserve to see the board. You've been playing this game your entire life. Now you know the rules. Go play.